Thank you. Trustees, do you have any recommendations, changes, suggestions on the agenda? None. We'll move to general public comment. Now is the time for general public comment. This is a time for comment on public matters that are not on the agenda. Public matters do not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. Please do not attempt to address such issues at this time or you will be ruled out of order. And just a reminder, the board cannot enter into a discussion during general public comment. Do we have anyone in the audience who would like
Sounds
to
okay.
give a general public comment? If you wouldn't mind stating your name and just your relationship to the district, a parent,
Yeah.
please, thank you.
Yeah.
Great.
Parent or taxpayer or whatever it is.
Okay. I just decided to come here, so I apologize. My comments aren't poorly prepared. My name is Sarah Ryan. I have 2 kids in Helena Public Schools. I understand that you're considering significant changes to the PEAK program, and I would just like to ask that the board engages the community, including teachers, parents, and students, in a thoughtful and strategic process before making those changes. My daughter, Winona, has been in PEAK for 2 years. My son, August, will enter the program next year. We moved to Helena in 2020, and the PEAK program has been one of the highlights of our children's experience here. Unlike many parents with kids in PEAK, my kids aren't bored in school. They actually struggle quite a bit. They both have severe dyslexia. And PEAK is one of the only places where my daughter feels a strong sense of belonging and where she can have the kind of experiential, multimodal, multisensory learning that really benefits a child with dyslexia or learning disability. Unfortunately, most of the way we teach and evaluate kids is very much based in reading and writing. And if that's not your primary means of learning, the standard classroom can be really challenging. She is excelling here much more so than she was in our last school district. And I think it's because of PEAK, both the teachers she's worked with there and the relationships she's created in that program. The school district we came from has a gifted and talented program, very similar to what I think our program would look like if some of the changes happen that are being discussed. For example, having teachers sort of isolated in different schools, having smaller groups of students, and so on. That program has not been successful. It's so important to bring these students together in groups and multi-age groups, and to give the teachers time to work together collaboratively. As a former educator, I can really speak to how important and how successful the current program is for students who maybe don't fit a typical model for a student. And that's it. That's all I had time to prepare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Ryan. Is there any other public comment, either in person or online? Okay. All right, our new business.
There was,
Oh, was there?
Does there sound good online too? Gary, there was, see, here. Thanks.
Why don't you just, you just had a member of the public join, so you might just give that call one more time.
Okay. Is there anyone online or in person that would like to give general public comment at this time? If you're online, please signal by raising your hand.
Check. And if he's not able to get on, it looks like he said he just echoes the statements of Ms. Ryan. And on the path forward, the program, significant changes should be avoided.
Okay, so he's just giving a
He can also
written
signal
comment.
back that he can reach out to me anytime.
Okay,
Want to do that for me? Thank you.
okay, all right. Thank you, Gary. All right, we will move on to new business now. Items for action, the canvas of the election results and issue certificates of the election. Ms. Nicholson.
Good evening. So the annual election was held May 2nd, 2023. And you received the tally sheets in your packet from the county. Some highlights of those tally sheets. Total registered voters in the elementary were 40,664. Total ballots issued were 36,198, and total ballots tabulated was 15,476, with a total voter turnout of 38.06%. In the high school, total registered voters in the high school is 42,864. Total ballots issued were 38,231. Total ballots tabulated were 16,253, with a total voter turnout of 37.92%. In the results of the election, the elementary general fund levy proposition passed with a margin of 55.75%, with 8,576 voting for the levy and 6,808 voting against the levy. The elementary building reserve levy proposition passed with a margin of 54.57%, with 8,364 voting for and 6,962 voting against. The high school building reserve levy proposition passed with a margin of 55.45%, with 8,953 voting for and 7,192 voting against. There was no trustee election. We canceled that election because the number of candidates that filed for a nomination petition equaled the number of open trustee positions, and no declarations of intent to be a write-in candidate were filed. Therefore, the trustee election was canceled April 11th. Linda Cletus, Jennifer McKee, and Jennifer Walsh were all elected by acclamation. In addition, at the May 2nd, 2023 special board meeting, Jeffrey Hindoin was appointed to the vacant trustee position. So Katrina Cheney, our county superintendent of schools, is here to administer the oath to all 4 candidates or trustees.
Do we approve the canvas election
You
results
do.
first?
You
Okay.
do. You canvass the election and certify the results.
Trustees, do I have a motion to canvass the election results and issue certificates of election for the elementary district?
Chair Hathorn, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Miskevich, second by trustee McKee. Is there any public comment on this action item? None online, Gary? Okay. Trustees, any discussion before we go ahead and vote? Okay. All those in favor, please answer by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, trustee Satry. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Oh, right. On the elementary, okay, I'm sorry. That we have one trustee from the high school district, so that it actually passes 6-0. All right, the next action item, the canvass the election results and issue certificate of election for our high school.
Chair Hathorn, I move that we accept the canvas election results and issue certificate of election for our high school district.
Thank you. Motion by trustee McKee. Do I have a second?
Second.
I would second.
3 seconds.
Second.
We're gonna go with trustee Walsh for this one. Executive statement there. So thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this action item? Any further discussion, questions by trustees? Okay. All those in favor, please answer by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 7-0 this time, with trustee Walsh included. Okay. All right.
we will move on to the oath of office.
Cheat sheet.
Okay, my cheat sheet. Think I'd have it memorized by now.
I need Jeff.
And do we have all?
Photo time?
And I will just take your oath all four together. It's a group project. So. It what?
Does
Okay.
McKee need to be with?
All right. If you,
No, that was via.
please read, oh, come on.
Oh, no, I guess you do.
Got four. Two Jennifers. Right, if you will raise your right hand and repeat after me, please. I do solemnly swear that I will support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Montana, and that I will discharge the duties of my office with fidelity.
Okay.
And if you would like to say so, so help me God. And thank you very much. Congratulations. Makes it nice. Thank you so much.
Siobhan? The building reserve levy?
That was just.
They were combined. So the two levies was the both
I
of
don't
the
know.
elementary, the building reserve on the elementary, and then the high school.
Okay,
That was my understanding.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's.
Let me double check with Janelle.
Yeah, I don't see how they could come.
Are you staying in the crowd? Are you?
She
Got a lot of public comment built up.
She read them.
We'll say goodbye to you.
Yeah, I thought.
Yeah, she did,
Like a speech or
but we didn't vote on it.
I'm sitting next to you again in a few years.
Yeah, right? Come on in, join the
I
party.
think we did the elementary school district.
Oh.
That's how she did it.
Congratulations. Over you.
Thanks.
Yeah, she said they were fine.
Good, thank you.
Madam Chair, before Luke leaves the floor, I think, it's bittersweet. We're thankful to have our new trustees, but it's really our last time. Just to say thanks again to what you've accomplished, your support to all staff, students, to our district. And so it's kind of bittersweet seeing you grab your name tag and ride off into the sunset there. But we do appreciate all of you done. Thank you.
Trustee Hindoin, since you took this seat to the right, Luke has always kept me right on target, so that's going to be your new job.
Oh,
So
okay.
jump right in.
Not realize it was the actual co-pilot seat.
Okay. All right. Our next item for action is our reorganization of the board. And the first one is appointment of board chair. So Mr. Miskevich did a canvas, and I think all the trustees have been informed and have kind of come to a consensus. So if anyone has a motion for the board chair, I would entertain that. Trustee Armstrong.
Yes, so I so move that we retain the current board chair, Chair Hathorn, and the board vice chair, Trustee McKee.
Ms. Mickelson, do we have to do those separately? She'd made a motion for the
Additionally,
board
yeah.
chair and the vice chair.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, so I so move we retain the board chair then.
thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
I would
second. Next time is going to be your turn, Trustee Satry. Motion by Trustee Armstrong, second by Trustee Beaver. Any questions, discussions? Is there any public comment on this action item? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor, please answer by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are very happy to be back to 8. Yeah, so our board is back in full swing, which is great to see. So motion passes 8-0. Do I have a motion for the vice chair? Trustee Armstrong.
I will take number 2. I will now move that we retain the board of vice chair, trustee McKee.
Thank you, Trustee Armstrong. Is there a second?
Second.
I would second.
I'm going to give it to Trustee Satry just because she's been working really hard to get those in there and it's her turn. Okay, so motion by Trustee McKee, second by Trustee Satry. Any discussion? Is there any board comments on this action item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please answer by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. And our third organizational item is appointment of the district clerk. Do I have a motion to appoint our district clerk?
Chair Hathorn, I move appointment of Janelle Nicholson as our district clerk.
Have a second?
Second.
Motion by Trustee McKee, second by Trustee Walsh. Any discussion, questions?
Chair Hathorn?
Yes.
Um,
Trustee McKee.
Ms. Mickelson has served the district and us and the board so profoundly ably for so long. It's truly hard to imagine where we'd be without her. So I know that we all support it, but I just wanted to get that out there on the record.
There you go. And I think that as part of this appointment, we're not going to allow her to retire anytime soon.
A 10-year.
Yeah, we're not sure.
No.
That'll be a moving target.
Let's roll with that one.
All right, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please answer by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. All right, we now have 2 items for information. The first one is one I think the board has expressed a desire to be really well educated on our health benefits committee recommendations. And so this would be a time for the board to just listen and ask and get some answers to any questions that you might have. So who do we have? Is Rich?
Rich is on.
Mr. Franco, okay. And he'll be providing that information.
Busy.
Hello.
There we are. We can hear you, Rich.
Good. Good evening. I believe you guys got in your packet some forms. And we'll just kind of go through those step by step. I did a kind of a overview for you guys, kind of a background summary as well. So I'll kind of just mimic through some of that, and then just have you guys ask some questions as we go along. The first one I'd like to go through is that premium analysis, the 5% plan year 23-24. So basically what this form is about is we had an actuary come up with this form where we have 3 different cost analysis. So if you look at the top, there's A, it says annualized, B, last plan year, and C, last 12 months. And you'll see in the colors on D, the average of A, B, C. You'll see the average of all 3 methods come out to about $13.7 million. So that would be our expenses if we were to incur the actual costs that we have had through these, basically the 18 months of data that we incurred. The medical being 5%, dental 3%, vision 2%. So those are the trend numbers that the committee voted on to utilize We base it off of numbers we get from Allegiance and Alliant. Just a reminder, Allegiance is our TPA, third-party administrator. They administer our medical, dental, and vision. And then our pharmacies through Express Scripts. Alliant is our benefits consultant. So we get a lot of the data from both sources. They go through national corporations such as Siegel, Milliman, and so forth to get these trend numbers, which also include the inflation rates that are going on and that we're seeing. So with that said, that's how we kind of come up with the numbers prediction for the next plan year. If you see towards the kind of the premium revenue based on 3/31/22 enrollment. I apologize, I should say 23 enrollment. So at the end of this March, I got all the enrollment numbers of who's enrolled in our plan, whether they're part-time, full-time, and so forth, who is on premium plan, who's on standard plan. And you'll see that number comes out to a little over $12.1 million, and that's the generated revenue. This would leave us at about a 12.88% loss if we were to not do anything. So about a little over $1.5 million. So we kind of go through and 12.88% is what it costs to break even if we were to increase our premiums. We looked at 12.5% just to see what that would do. You would see that that generates a little over 13.6 million, which still leaves us about $45,000, almost $46,000 short. I will go to the final calculations page. Sorry, I gotta bring this up on my little laptop here. So on this final calculations, it's just a summary of what we're just talking about. Like I said, ABC, it's less messy. You don't have to worry about seeing as all the numbers, but you get the final result. So you'll see on D average calculations, if we did a 0% increase, obviously we would see a $1.5 million hit. 12.5, about 45, almost 46,000. The 13% is what we were looking at as far as the health benefit committee goes. And that would actually get us a smidge over break even to about $14,000, almost $15,000. The next one, the unreserves look back. So this one was pretty crucial just to kind of give us an idea of what our unreserves look like the last 6 months of our plan year. So the first 6 months, our unreserves generally increase a little bit. And the reason why is we have a lot of our members and retirees on the plan trying to meet their deductibles and their max out of pockets. Typically by the 6-month mark, we have more people hitting those numbers, which means then our plan starts paying more. So over the last 6 months, if you look, there's 2019, 20, 21, and 22. You'll see that 19 is the best year, and that was the year we didn't have as many high cost claims, ones that hit stop loss as well. Those are our big, kind of extreme costs that really, impact our plan. With that said, over all 4 years, it's about 731,000, almost 732,000 on average that we lose in our unreserves. If you look at just the last 3 years, which have been the tougher years that we have been facing, that average actually rises about 157,000 to about 888,814 dollars. So all that means is the last 3 years that we've been seeing a lot of the inflation increase, and a lot of our unfortunately our members and our population having higher cost claims, whether that's due to cancer, diseases, or accidents by chance. That's really been a big driver of our health plan. The employee out-of-pocket expense, I know is a big one. That's what is kind of a just quick outlook of what our employee impact will be. So the Health Benefit Committee did recommend and vote all in favor for a 13% increase. They just, they really strongly felt that, we kept undercutting it. Just a reminder, last year we did 15% when it was projected 20%. And the previous year was projected 18%, and we only did an 7%. So, not doing the full increases, it's just kept carrying over year after year. They felt that it was fiscally irresponsible to not to keep doing that, so they decided not to, which I strongly supported as well. You will see though, with the 13% increase, with no increase in district contribution, the employee out of pockets, the difference you'll see is highlighted. That's about what they'll see, and this is all per month. So I will kind of make this form a little prettier to show you guys per month. I know you guys haven't really seen this before, so I'm gonna make it a little easier to visually look at. The difference on the premium plan obviously is a bigger impact, just because that's our what I call our Cadillac plan, our best plan. Our standard plan's still pretty good. You will see that the employee only, if you look at the column of employee out of pocket, you'll see that the employee only and the employee plus children are not red numbers, they're black numbers, $225 and $92. That means out of the benefit dollars that we give the employees, if they elect those plans, that's actually the money that is left over, and they can choose to do with that what they wish. Meaning, if they wanted to use that money per month, the $225 or $92, they could use it towards flex. They could use it towards additional retirement funds, such as a 403B or 457B. They can do nothing with it and let it roll into their check and get taxed. So there's a lot of options for the employees if they are on the standard plan. You don't get your vision. You do still get your preventative dental. So I think at this point, it's very crucial to educate our members of our plan, just to let them understand what the differences of the two plans are and how they can utilize these leftover monies for basically for their health and other costs. A quick couple other notes before I have you guys ask questions. We did implement Save On our Smart 90 program last year. I'm still waiting to hear back from Alliant and Express Scripts. They said they should have that data for me by the end of the month, or not the month, the end of this week, Friday. So I'll be able to get you guys that information on kind of what impact it has been to the plan as far as savings to not just our plan, but our members. The same goes with, we have a Save On SP program that we implemented. And then we have a advanced utilization management program that we also implemented. So I'll have all three program numbers to you guys by the end of Friday, as long as Express Scripts and Alliant get those to me. So you guys can see what those are doing for our health plan, which will definitely make an impact this year. And then obviously, going forward. The one other program that we started last year, we're going into we are in our second year of doing, is called the St. Peter's Narrow Network Program. And basically what that is reduce costs if our members go to St. Peter's providers. This program had, over the last plan year from October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022, has saved our members about $619, our members $524,800, and our plan of $94,500. So overall, $619,000 in savings last year. They're looking at it to be even a little bigger this year, so that would be awesome. And just so you guys know, this narrow network program was designed to be a break even for the district's plan. It was mainly to help reduce costs for members. We were pleased to see that it has saved us almost $100,000 as well. So that's definitely been a really good benefit. So other than that, what kind of questions do you guys have?
Ms. Vatry has a question.
Trustee Satry.
Or a comment.
She's not unmuted.
You're still muted, Kay.
There you go.
There you
Gotcha. Question, Rich, what are our unreserves? What's that fund look like as
Yeah.
of the end of March 23? I think that's.
So that's a very great question, Kay. Thank you. We are looking at $2.4 million in our reserves. So if we were to look at the way our unreserves go down over the last 6 months, we'd probably be looking in the mid 1.6 million range at the end of the year. Just kind of a quick reminder, in August of 2020, we had a month where we had 1.7, almost $1.8 million in claims. That dropped our unreserved almost $1 million in that month alone. So typically we like to see our unreserves around the $3.5 million mark, just in case we have these rough months. Unfortunately, we've gotten pretty low. We started the year off closer to $1 million. Like I said, in the first 6 months, they do build up. So we got back up to about 2.4 million. Like I said, we'll probably see them get down to the, $1.5 million mark, assuming we don't have any really catastrophic months.
Thanks, Rich.
Yes, thank you.
Trustee Mickey.
Chair Hawthorne, Rich, thank you for this presentation. This is great, and I love seeing all the detail. I was wondering if you knew the actuarial value of our premium plan and our standard plan.
What kind of, I guess, can you break that question down? Like, what are you looking for? Like, do you want to know the differences? Do you want to know, kind of if an employee was on the standard plan, what would make that more advantageous to be on the premium plan?
I'm looking for how much of, on average, how much of the healthcare costs does the plan pay, and how much is the healthcare cost does the employee pay?
That's a great question, and I can actually get you that here in one quick second. So typically, just to kind of give you guys a quick breakdown of how our plan usually runs, we generally see most of our dollars come from our premium plan. As far as expenses, which is to be expected, most people on the premium plan need it for medical reasons. The dental and vision quite aren't as big of claims, I guess you can say. So overall, you would see most of your claim dollars coming from your premium plan. So with that said, just doing this real quick so I can give you a pretty solid number here. So it looks like at the end of March, about a little over 79% of our claims came from the premium plan. So a pretty significant amount.
Do you know what percent? I mean, I understand that. I'm sorry, Chair.
No, yeah, yes, absolutely.
Rich, it's Trustee Mickey again. Do you know what on the premium plan, while 79% of our claims might have come from that plan, do you know what percent of the individual's cost that plan paid for? Like, is it 80% of the healthcare costs on average?
So
70?
yeah, so the breakout goes on the premium plan, on an individual, it's a $500 deductible.
Mhm.
It's a 2,000 max out of pocket. So in between that amount, once you meet your deductible, it's an 80-20 plan. We pay 80%, the employee pays 20. But
Okay.
once after they meet the 2,000 max out of pocket, anything medical after that is covered 100%. And that's, that's kind of what I was referring to in the last 6 months. Once our employees do meet the max out of pockets, whether they decide to, whether it's small surgeries or big surgeries, they can end up doing those type of things. We have employees that know they have to have a surgery get done, so they might get it done early in the year so they can meet that max out of pocket, and then everything's pretty much covered the rest of the year. So that's another thing that our health benefit committee has looked at. This upcoming August, September, we are going to be looking at plan restructuring to try and soften some of that percentage without losing complete viability of our plans. So that's definitely some work that we are getting into.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Trustee Beaver?
Rich, can you tell me how much or how many of our claims or what percentage of our claims go beyond individual stop loss?
Yeah,
or group stop loss?
Yeah, so just as a quick for those who may not know a whole lot about stop loss. So stop loss is basically like insurance for insurance. So we get a stop loss to kind of protect our plan from catastrophic claims. So any plan or any claim, let's say I had a claim that was $400,000. After the first 165, we get reimbursed for that. So that's definitely a help to our plan, but we are on the hook for that first 165. So with that said, in previous years, from 2012, 13, all the way up to 2018, 19, we were used to seeing no more than 3 high cost or stop loss high cost claims over the course of a plan year. The last 3 years, it's been more like 11, 12 stop loss claims, and some of them are pretty big, kind of in, pushing $1 million. So it's it's it definitely has an impact. So that's kind of where we are as far as that goes this year. I don't have the exact number. I definitely can get that, but I believe we're running a couple of those less at this point compared to last year, which is why we're running a little bit better than we were last year at this point. So hopefully that can continue. Like I told the health benefit committee, even though we've been generally running pretty solid all year, we did have a month in December where we were $189,000 over the claims paid last year. So that was a pretty rough month for us. So that's kind of the thing with the unreserves, why they're handy to have, is if we have those rough months, that's kind of what we fall back on.
Just to follow up to that, Rich, I think you did express to us that individual stop loss was at 165,000. What is
Correct.
the stop loss rate for a group?
Stop loss rate for a group is, I believe, at 145 spec.
Oh, wait, I got lost then.
So it's the 100 and I believe it's 145. No, let me look. I'm looking 1 second. Sorry, sir. One quick second. I have too many PDFs pulled up. Okay. Okay,
As he's-
so it's the 125,000 for this spec. So basically what that is if we had 5 people that had claims of, you know, $20,000 to $40,000, and we could group them into a group. After that 125,000, we'd see a reimbursement. You know, and it's definitely a really good benefit, but it's hard to get to because most of the time that we're getting stop loss reimbursement is from a single individual because we don't have that many people that are hitting that stop loss mark. But I think so far, last year, I think we had a couple of groups that got to that. This year, we haven't had one yet, and I'm hoping to keep it that way.
Thank you, Rich.
Yes, of course.
Jennifer, did you have, are you good? Yeah, I'm good.
Sure. Hey, Rich, it's Jeff Hindoin. I just want to kind of make sure I'm tracking with,
Hi, Jeff.
hey, thanks for particularly the unreserved stuff. And I just want to make sure I'm kind of tracking with
Yes, sir.
the significance of those numbers. I mean, if I understand that, I mean, it's just walking into this and looking at it tonight. I mean, that basically shows we've been burning about, on average, $750,000 every year.
Right.
And that's been our backstop, or essentially the source for subsidizing the shortfall for the decisions that were made to set the premiums each year, and maybe to pick up some of these large claims you've talked about. And if I understood what you just said, kind of where we're projecting to be at the end of this plan year, at whatever 1.516, if that's where we are, I mean, I guess it's just my observations. I mean, that tank's functionally empty. Isn't
Yeah,
it? I mean, that
know,
well is dry at this point for purposes of anything we can do with our plan going forward, other than try and begin to maybe put a little more fuel back in the tank.
Yeah, and Jeff, you understood it correct. Basically, just to kind of do a quick catch up here, in 2015-16, our unreserves were in the high sixes, almost $7 million range. With that said, it was definitely within reason for us to pass some of the premium increase onto our plan instead of our members. So over the course of 17, 18, and 19, and then obviously 20, when we had the 18%, but we only did a 7, that 11%, which was about ended up being about $1 million, came out of our unreserved. So, like I was, alluding to earlier, the committee, health benefit committee, knew this was, it'd be fiscally irresponsible to keep trying to take anything out of reserves, because like you said, Jeff, it is low, and we'd prefer not to see it get any lower than it is, because that could lead to a potential mid-year premium rate hike, which we haven't done since the 90s, and definitely don't want to be on that scope. So as that said, that's why the committee looked at the 13% and felt pretty strongly about doing the 13% premium increase that would cover the 12.88% projection, then plus an extra 14 grand, which isn't a lot, but it's still a step in the right direction. And with our narrow network program, a couple other programs that we implemented, we're hoping to see a really good push this year from those. We also are looking at, in the May 25th Health Benefit Committee meeting, we're looking at possibly implementing a few more programs that could potentially help reduce costs for some of our claims and our groups. And we try and target a lot of our top 10 high cost claim categories. Allegiance does a really good job every year going through and doing a presentation for year end, so we can kind of see where we're at. Well, our top Number one was depression. So the committee's been really looking at trying to find a more viable employee assistance program. So that's in doing so, obviously that costs money. So we're looking at potentially going out and finding better costs for our life insurance and our long-term disability to get lower rates, so we could use those savings to offset the potential cost for the employee assistance program. So there's a lot of things that the Health Benefit Committee is trying to get done, and well, you guys will definitely be seeing here hopefully in the next week or so. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's very, this year was very alarming, and it was very good for the committee to do their due diligence and look at doing that 13%. So.
No, thanks. That's awesome. And thanks to the committee. That's a committee I was profoundly grateful not to have to be a part of when I served on the board before, because it's a huge lift. I mean, it's really hard, and it's for the trustees and the staff that work that committee, because there's nothing new about this. I mean, my whole time I've ever been around group insurance structures, they never come in and tell you, hey, next year this is all going down. I mean, it's been a constant chasing after a target you never quite catch up with the inflation in this world. So no, thanks to you guys for all the work on this and for all this great information.
Yes, of course.
I have a couple questions. This is Chair Hathorn. Can you go over, and this might be for Superintendent Welts as well, like what is the process from the board's perspective? What will we approve or not, and how that will play out, so that trustees know what it is our decision-making capabilities and scope are.
Right, absolutely. And basically, all the Health Benefit Committee is a hand of the board to basically go through all this, fun numbers, I guess you can say. And doing so, all of that's coming to you guys is the 13% premium increase, and that's it. So that's what you guys will have to vote on, I believe, by the June 13th meeting. And then that will basically set the premium rates for next year. And that's all this is for. Unlike last year there was other implications tied to it. That was just from negotiations between the district and unions the previous year. That is not applicable to this year. This year is just strictly the 13% premium rate increase, and that's it.
So just to be completely clear, if we approve the 13% increase, that wouldn't determine where those dollars were coming from. It would just be for the increase.
It would just be the increase, so that way we can get their rates out there. And then whatever is negotiated between the district and union is completely separate. So all we would do is, once those rates get set, I would then take those rates and kind of revamp my forms for the next plan year and get those out in the end of July to all the members, so they can see what the costs are going to be, whether they're incurring some of that cost or whether they're not. The point being is, that all you guys are voting on is just the 13% premium increase.
So I think where you're going with this question is, to boil it down, there's no fiscal note to the district out of the general fund to supply funds for this 13%. Before us tonight, we have a 13% premium increase that you will vote on, that then becomes negotiated on how those funds are met, or what that 13% will be met on. So there's, unlike last year, where when you approved it, there was a fiscal note for the district. Now it's going to be a negotiated segment. We don't pay for that right now.
Correct.
Trustee
That
McKee?
makes sense?
Question.
Chair Hoffman, thank you. Do you have, I don't want to jump in.
No, hop in.
Hey, Rich, it's Trustee McKee again. I just want to be clear. So the premium increases, you described it, there's lots of moving levers in insurance. It's not just premium. If we approve that, does that mean that it could be a higher deductible, or it could be increasing the out-of-pocket max, or it could be changing the total, I guess, in some way. Or is it just premium? That's the only thing that
Nope.
we have time to mess
All
with
you're
right now.
setting is the premium.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, it's just the premiums. What you're talking about is plan restructuring, and that's something that the committee is looking at to help with the cost. And like I was saying, it will be something that they will get a lot of information coming back from their summer break. Unfortunately for them, they'll be hit the ground running. That's just the world we live in. And once they do that, we'll kind of come up. We'll have our benefits consultant go through the pros and cons. We'll give you guys a complete analysis of what we're doing with the plan structure, but that's all going to be next year. This year is just strictly the premiums. Like Superintendent Rex said, there is no benefit dollar, cafeteria dollar implications involved here. It's just strictly the insurance premiums for the health plan.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes.
Questions? Trustee Satry. You're not mute. You need to unmute, please.
Sorry, I just get right into what I'm thinking and saying. So while I appreciate and understand that we're saying that what we're talking about here is a premium increase, and I have become much better informed, and also appreciate the necessity to keep our plan fiscally viable. So I joined my colleagues on the Health Benefits Committee and voted yes for the 13% increase. So I just am pausing here because I also want to, when we say it's just a premium increase, I guess one of the ways I think and feel about this is that, we need to make a decision to keep our plan viable. And we are also in some ways then passing along, the question and the decision about who's going to pay this to our bargaining, members and team. Isn't that correct? Because there will be a 13% increase in premiums.
Right.
And so that will need to be paid. Our bargaining team will have to help to then navigate that, with all our employees who, of course, we want to have, the best possible plans for health insurance plans for. So I'm just pausing with it's just a premium increase. I think that's true on one hand, but we're also, am I correct that we are passing that on to, people who are working around the bargaining table? Some trustees are there, the superintendent is there, as well as, members of our, our staff.
Yeah, okay, so to answer that, you're right, like people like me would see the premium increase. With that said, the Health Benefit Committee, their job is, like you said, to keep the plan fiscally sound. And that's what we're charged with doing, is keeping it fiscally sound. In doing so, everything that we had done up till now is basically the max limit of trying to pass those extra dollars over to the plan. And that's why the committee did vote on the 13%. All we're saying is, we're not saying it's just an increase. We're saying it is just the increase that they're voting on. That's the kind of specificity of why we're saying that. Just because last year there was implications from the general fund tied to it. We're just clarifying that there is no general fund implications tied to this. You're right. Members throughout the health plan and, employees such as myself would see the increase, whether we're on the premium or standard plan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Armstrong.
Rich, I just want to thank you this year for getting this to us at this point, because I know last year we felt a little bit of pressure to receive the information and then vote. So I really appreciate you being very proactive on that. Second point would be, of course, we would like to be able to cover the increases, but we can't cover it. And then, with the next agenda item being a budget consensus committee where we need to find, 3 billion more in savings. So it's just
Right.
not feasible for us at this point. But I definitely appreciate the work that is done. And I really appreciate the decoupling to a hit on the general fund
Yes.
for this year. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Trustee Armstrong. Trustee Beaver.
Rich, if we were not in a partially self-funded plan of our district plan, if we were in a plan off the market, what is the anticipated premium increase to be for something that is on the market next year?
Right now, there's a couple places that are looking at 25%. So if we were not self-funded plan, if we were part of that group, and we were fully insured, if they said 25%, we would have to just take the 25%. There is no committee to negotiate lower or anything. We don't have unreserves to look at. Being self-funded plan, we're in a unique spot where we have a lot more control of the plan, which is why we're able to pass on the savings for so many years from our unreserves. Unfortunately, it's just got to a point where we've just had too many bad years in a row to where we're, and like I said, last year's 5% and the previous year's 11% under, the projections that we voted on. That 16% total doesn't go away. And that's part of the reason why we saw the 12.88 this year. Like I told the Health Benefit Committee, if we did the full 20 last year, obviously that would have been a little bit of a sticker shock, but we'd only be talking about 7% this year, 7.88% this year. So, and I think they really took that to heart, and that's why they're looking at the 12.88 and said, okay, well, let's do 13, and try and keep this solid, while in mind thinking of other ways we could do something, such as a plan restructure of our premium standard plans, so that way we can kind of offer benefits within a reason, like we are now, to employees, and having them kind of break out a little bit more, maybe where they can choose, lessen the burden on the district and the health plan, but also still provide exceptional benefits for the members. So that's something that the committee is definitely got their feet in right now, and hopefully we have some a really good progress and good news in the fall next year.
Well, I think that expresses to us the significance of the viability of our partially self-funded in-district plan. Our increases would be about 50% of what they would be if we were to go out on the market next year. And I think we're doing well. It appears to be expensive, and it is expensive, but it's not as expensive as if we were to go out on the market. So we don't have an awful lot of alternative if we're going to maintain our plan, unless we get out of the insurance business altogether. And I don't think we're ready to do that. So Thank you very much, Rich.
Yes, of course.
Trustee McKee.
Chair Hathorn, to your point, Trustee Beaver, I have the small group and individual plans for Montana sold in our county up on my computer, and to compare our plan to we probably wouldn't go out and buy insurance exactly like this, but just so you can kind of get a sense of what's here. The deductibles, we have a $500 deductible. A plan like ours that's 80/20, you'd be looking at anywhere between $1,750 deductible and $3,000 deductible. Your maximum out of pocket is up to $9,000, and then after that you'd pay 20%. And then the rates, like we're paying $969 for an individual, so it's broken out by age when you buy on the market, and it goes up as you age. So you have to get above 55 before you are at $969. So our increase is lower, but our benefit is a lot higher.
Correct.
Thank you. This is more of almost a future request. It's concerning to me, kind of piggybacking on Trustee Hindoin's comment. We've gone from 7 million, I believe 7 years ago, down to 2.7 million in our unreserves. And I'm just concerned and will be interested to hear about the viability and if we are able to recharge some of that unreserved so that we can continue to offer this, as Trustee McKee said, this really great product. So
Yes.
just looking forward to getting that information regularly to see where that reserve account stands.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much. We really appreciate getting this information and educating the board. Of course, we need to know all the information before we can make a good vote. And I think that we're getting what we need, and we're very appreciative for the presentation and the information that Kate brings to us.
Yes, of course.
Okay, next up, for information, the Budget Consensus Recommendation Committee.
I'll tee up, absolutely. In fact, I'll back up just one comment before I move on, is that perhaps the questions that were generated tonight in healthcare, we should probably bring to the table a couple of times a year. And so the questions you asked this evening were good questions, and probably ones that you want to know prior to a premium increase. And so maybe a mid-year update just on healthcare and where we're at prior to a vote, if you will. So we'll put that on the schedule.
Thank you.
You bet. Moving on. So we have new trustees, and I'd like to do a 8-month snapshot in 2 minutes. So here's where we were. Janelle, since she's been here, has mentioned that there's a fiscal need to pay attention to, in particular in our general fund, both in the elementary and the high school districts. Our district is composed of 2 districts. Obviously, it's a K-8 district and then a 9-12. So the composite is Helena School District has literally 2 districts, and we run those budgets separately, except for a interlocal, which is traditionally a savings account, right? So that's what we can use in both districts. So here's where we were. Dr. Ream, before I was really looking at ways that we were going to help reduce costs and expenditures out of our general fund. That was in 2017, 18, and 19, roughly. I had a consultant come in and say, we're really needing to pay attention to this. And then COVID took center stage, if you will, and the budget talks went away for a while as we managed our way through a pandemic. We've got through the pandemic, and the budget is now back in our front wheelhouse, if per se. Through that, we were able to put money into our interlocal fund. And so as we start to look at how we were going to offset our general fund expenditures, we're going to use a 2-year plan and use our interlocal funds to help us get through the next 2 years to have a balanced budget in 2024, 2025. That's where we've been. In that work, from January, we started building a 5-year forecast for the district. Remember, legislation runs every 2 years, and so they set those inflationary increases. So for 2 years, we know what those numbers look like, and then we're projecting out what the 3rd and 4th year and the 5th year might be. So from January till today, we worked on finding our significant numbers in our 5-year forecast so that we have the best idea possible of what our revenues and our expenditures would look like. We started in January with nearly a $6 million deficit between the two. As we worked through that and understanding that we knew that we had to make changes in our operations, run more efficiently, we could not do something this year and rely on our interlocal to help us through. There wasn't enough money in our interlocal. So we had to find reductions this year and use our interlocals next year to live through the next cycle to find the remaining, all right? And paraphrasing this in a high level terms. through the work of my team, in particular, both of my assistant superintendents, Josh McKay, Mr. McKay in the high school, Mr. Cummings in the elementary, through signaling, I'll back this up. We didn't want to do this. I like the programs that we run, and I wish that we could continue to do them. They are phenomenal for kids. We heard it tonight. As we sit here, we don't have the opportunity to do that, so we need to find changes. And so through this year, as we're building the 5-year forecast, we also initiated change because we had to. Not replacing retirements and resignations, looking at our non-renewals, a closing of a program building and relocating them. There was a lot of different pieces of parts to that, but through their efforts in the team, we were able to find about $3.1 million in savings. And out of that $6 million where we started, we've found $3 million. Okay, that was year one. We are still 3.1, we're still 3.1, 3.2 short. Okay. That's the second year, and this is the reason why I asked Dr. Watson, Rob Watson. So I'll introduce Dr. Watson. He was a long career in education, superintendent in Bozeman, superintendent in Missoula, recently retired and is now executive director of SAM. SAM is reaching out to school districts in a new fashion, saying, we want to help support you. Mr. Watson, Dr. Watson's expertise is around this kind of work. And so in an open collaborative environment, we've invited 37 to 38 individuals from the community, from our classified staff, throughout 3 trustees that will be on this committee. Dr. Watson asked to give us a general overview of what this process will look like moving forward. We're going to have a grounding, our first meeting, our grounding meeting will be Thursday, 6 o'clock in the Lincoln Center this week. And that's where we'll go through the process of what it is. The work didn't start or won't start tomorrow night or Thursday night. Dr. Watson has already started individually meeting with stakeholders on what themes are out there and what our people are talking about. And so it's already started. So I'd like to at this time introduce Dr. Rob Watson. Thanks for being here, Rob. I told you it was gonna be a short meeting.
Yes, you did. No, it's fine. It's fine.
Relatively short.
It is short.
Two districts.
Yeah.
I just wondered how I get my picture on the wall back there.
You want to wonder how you get it 3 times. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Rex, for the introduction. I will be brief. I want to save time for questions. As Rex said, this is my 30th year working in public education. I have been a superintendent, I've been a teacher, I've been a principal, mostly in Montana. I did spend a few years in Alaska. I want to talk to you about my experience with this sort of work because I think that's probably more pertinent. And I would tell you that, Helena led the charge on this. You all did this work many, many years ago under Dr. Messenger. He's the first one that brought the consensus process to the state of Montana. When I was in Bozeman, we actually learned from Helena on how to do it. So that was really interesting to me that now we've come back to this as a district because I think it works, and I'm excited to hear that. What I would tell you is that my experience with this work started with negotiations, teacher negotiations, but we soon realized it could be used for a lot more stuff. So we used the process in Bozeman. I brought the process to Missoula. We used it there. The process itself helps solve complex issues. I've always believed that to solve a complex issue, you need a comprehensive solution. And that's what this process is. It's very comprehensive. It's very collaborative. I realized you just spent quite a bit of time talking about concerns around health insurance costs. What I'm going to tell you now probably won't inspire a lot of confidence in me, but what I'm going to tell you is I don't have the answers. I'm not coming here telling you I have all the answers. I'm going to come here and solve all the problems. That's not, if I could do that, I probably would be doing something else right now, but I don't have all the answers. What I have is the process, and I have a lot of experience with the process. And that's what I want to bring to you to help. and I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with you. So why would Sam be interested in this work? So currently I work as the executive director for the School Administrators of Montana. That's located here in Helena. So that's a good thing because I don't have to travel to help you. I can come just right down the street to help you. So that's really good. Why would Sam want to do this sort of work? This is a new branch for us. We don't do this sort of work on a routine basis. But quite honestly, the issues that you're facing are being faced by every other school district in the state. The issues around complex problems happen everywhere. And we believe that through this sort of process, we can actually help a lot of school districts. So yes, you are the first school district that we're working with on this sort of project, but I hope in the future we work with a lot more school districts across the state. Why would the school administrators be interested in this? Because we're all about maintaining leadership, good leadership. We believe that leadership in a community, the longer you can keep leadership in a community, the better you are, because it takes several years for a leader to get established and to start solving some problems. And so we believe this sort of process helps maintain and sustain and retain good leaders in our state. So really quickly, here are my goals. These are very, very simple. Number one, I want to build trust in a process. Number two, I want to address unresolved conflict that may be occurring in your district and your community. Number three, and this one's probably most important to me, is I want to encourage that you use a process, either this process or something similar, to solve future problems. I don't, quite frankly, although I think Helena is a great school district, I don't want to have to come back in 6 months or 6 years. I want to teach you how to do it and hope that you sustain it into the future. You shouldn't have to have somebody like me facilitate this because you're smart enough to do it on your own. And then number four, the most important thing is we will reach a resolution. And that resolution will be met with consensus of the entire group. It's not going to be easy, but that would be my goal, is that we're going to reach a resolution. We will present some options for the board to consider. We're not going to present you with a final solution. We're going to present you with a variety of options to solve the budget issue, but we will reach resolution around those options. The process is really, really simple to explain. Number one, we develop trust among the group. We provide a safe environment through protocols so everyone has a voice in the group. And then through consensus, after some time, we reach resolution. What I will tell you that is not, I think it's clear to explain what this is not. And so this is not a quick fix solution. We design solutions to be sustainable and long-term. But because of that, it takes time. It's not going to happen in 1 or 2 meetings. It's going to take a few meetings. What I like about the process is it doesn't allow one person to have an overarching agenda or one person to have the entire solution. The solution lies within the group, and it's my job to pull that solution out of the group. The final thing is there are no preconceived solutions. Just because I worked in a couple of school districts and I have experience with budgets, I don't have a solution. I'm not coming into this process with a solution. I've asked your superintendent to approach the process the same way. There is no one person that has a solution. The solution has to come from the group. Final thing I'll say is, as Rex mentioned, we're going to start this week. The first meeting is fairly simple. We explain the process. We get a little bit into some of the protocols. We clarify the end goal. And so what I want to just make sure that you hear from me, our end goal is by the end of this process, we are going to bring some options to the board for you to decide what the solution will be for the budget. If you have a different end goal, please share that with Rex, because I want to make sure we have clarity on what the goal is before we start with the group. And then what I can promise to you is that it'll be collaborative, that I will create a shared understanding. And the final thing I'll promise to you is I'm not going to do this alone. I've asked Rex to choose a co-facilitator that works in the district so that you can learn how to do this on your own. I won't facilitate this on my own. I'll make sure that it's co-facilitated. What I would ask of you is please have faith in the process. I know it seems pretty vague, and it's vague intentionally because the group really defines the process. You have a few board members that are going to participate, which is great. It's always great to have board members in the circle, but please have faith in your fellow board members and their participation. And finally, most importantly, have faith in your community, not only your teachers, your classified staff, your employees. Have faith in your entire community that they're going to reach a solution, because I know they will. I've never entered into this process where it didn't result in a resolution, so I'm confident that it will. After a couple of meetings, I promise that I can come back and report out. I've always told Rex too, if it isn't working, if he doesn't feel like it's working for the district, he's free to fire me. I have no issues with that. I do want to tell you that I'm doing this on behalf of the school administrators of Montana. So I'm not collecting a consulting fee, but I am asking Rex to make a donation to the School Administrators of Montana, which is a nonprofit organization, and it will help us further this work across the state. What questions do you have for me?
Be your sole work, or are you going to be split between other responsibilities?
Great question. Yeah. So I have a full-time job with the School Administrators of Montana. Fortunately, now that the legislative session is over, my job has gotten a little bit slower. But I do have a full-time job. I forgot to mention our organization serves 1,000 members across the state. And so that's my primary responsibility, is service to those members. This will be a part of my job. It won't be my only job. And I estimate that, anywhere between 60 to 80 hours probably in this project, just to give you an idea of how much time I think it will take. But I really don't know that until we get started.
Looking at for the expanse. I mean, I know that you said a couple months, you'll come back with some resolutions and ideas, but are you tagged with us for like 6 months or a specific time period?
Not necessarily a specific time period, as long as it takes, but we also know that there's decisions that need to be made. Great question, by the way, that will affect our district. In doing that, we want to make sure that we give individuals and or our community time to understand what those decisions are and plan for future years. And so what I don't want to do, Trustee Walsh, is have the board finalize a decision in May and June, and then we're scrambling through summer to make up, to change midsummer. And so I'd like to have this decisions and before you late winter, early next year.
Nice to meet
That's
you,
my
by
time.
the way. I should
Yeah.
Start with that. Sorry.
Thanks. No problem.
I have 2 questions. So do you foresee this being like a twice a month meeting? Do we have any idea what that
I think
setup is?
Thursday night's going to flesh that out for us.
Okay. All right. And then the second question is, Rex, how did you define the stakeholders that you're inviting to the
There's
table?
a lot of input to that. First of all, we have a parent advisory group that we reached out to. I have teachers that let me know that they were interested. I asked Ms. Shawn to send me a list of what some staff members that she felt was interested. We put together an early budget committee with teachers that were interested. And so there was a conglomerate of educators that we chose from. And then just did my research and asked questions about who would fit well into this committee. So we had lots of ways of getting stakeholders.
So who do you have? I mean, you have the board, you have staff, you have parents. Are there any other community groups that you felt were part of the process?
Let me run through it. So we'll have 3 trustees, 3 parents, 2 students, which will be our board reps that when they get on board with us. I have a Helen Education Foundation representative, 2 business representatives, a classified 2 HEA officers, Jane and another officer with her. I have a collective of 12 teachers, 1 independent teacher. I have a tech director of facilities and HR, 2 assistant superintendents, but one will be leaving us after the first meeting. And our business manager of facilities, we have a facility co-facilitator with Dr. Watson. That's also one of our certified teachers. So that's collectively around 38 individuals.
I like that you included business members of the community, because really public education is a community.
I think I see one online tonight with us.
Say Mr. Hayes.
Huh?
Mr. Hayes.
No, it's Rick Hayes.
Yeah, he's up there. I was gonna say, I hope that's.
And I'll put that out. I wanted to make sure that we had people that accepted the position before I listed who we asked in an event. Well, just simply in the event that someone couldn't make it. I didn't want our general public to know that they were asked and then they turned it down. I wanted to protect that privacy right for those that just wanted to be on it and accepted the position. So I've kept those somewhat close until I know for sure they're ready and accepted. Yeah, thank you.
Trustee Beaver?
I think you're probably going to do this on Thursday, but I'm not going to let you off the hook until Thursday. So, I think there are a number of us here that have gone through processes of problem solving. And I think the most just individualistic one and the most comprehensive one is the scientific method of problem solving. So is that approximately what you are going to do? But it can't be if we're going to have community input and consensus. Where do they differ?
Question. So I a former science teacher, so I'm very familiar with the scientific process. I don't know if I'm familiar with your description of the scientific process in problem solving. I can tell you a little bit more about where this process started. The process was developed in Oregon by a gentleman named Bob Chadwick. He started the process because he was tasked with solving water rights issues, which, if you know anything about that, it's very contentious. And that's how he developed the process. Later on in life, he brought it to schools and other organizations. I've used it with teacher teams, entire school teams. I've used it with physicians group that was struggling with within themselves. I've used it with other businesses, but it is a very defined process, but in the same right, the group defines where it goes. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, I think I understand more about the process now that you said that it came from Bob Chadwick. I worked with Bob for a number of years. So, okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I have a question. So you said that the end result or the goal is to come up with options that the board would, choose or approve. How does we're used to getting a recommendation from the administration and then looking at that, like how does I know some of the administration's on the board, but how do they kind of play into that process?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I would tell you that the administration plays an important role, and that's why it's important for them to be there and listen to the discussion throughout the process. At the end of the day, it's really up to the administration whether they want to make a recommendation on one particular option or bring a couple options to the board. It's really up to the administration, and I think the committee will have some discussion around that as well.
Great. Thank you.
I think it's important also to note that the recommendations may not be in the form of one recommendation. We could tie this also, as I've seen examples in other communities, based on levies of revenues coming in. It could look different if these revenues do play out or if they do not. And so there really may be two different versions of what might take place within our community and how we respond to different levies that could be proposed. But we will talk about that on Thursday as well, what it looks like. Lastly, if there's no other questions, I believe in the system. There are several that are still here in Helena that remember the system, Chadwick. but we've lost it. We've had 50% turnover in the last 5 years of individuals. And so as we turn people over, the systems move on. So as we said, we have one individual, a teacher that we'll learn from, but I've also asked Mr. McKay to be part of that facilitating group so that he can also learn. So we'll have multiple people bringing it back in a system. So we're not ad-libbing problem solving in complex worlds. My final statement is that I do believe that systems are important, but it's also the facilitator, the person that's running it. I have full faith in Dr. Watson and his respect across the state of Montana, if not the Pacific Northwest, that systems are systems, but the people that run the systems are successful. And so I do believe the person's here that will be able to help us, guide us through, and teach us this as we find solutions around our budget issues. So I appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Dr. Watson.
Yep,
And
I'm going to leave
thank
my
you.
card with each one of you in case you have follow-up questions.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Superintendent
You
Wells.
bet. Thanks, Ron.
All right, we're approaching the end of our agenda. Is there any board comments? Trustee Nikki, you look ready to go.
I would like to make a comment. I wanted to welcome Trustee Hindoin and gosh, I am blanking her name and it is so embarrassing. Trustee Cletus, it is so embarrassing. Here's my welcome and I can't even get it out. You guys, well, and I guess Trustee Welsh, she didn't go anywhere, but it is going to be a challenging year, and that you guys agreed to serve during this time is very meaningful, and we're really looking forward to working with you and solving our common problems together.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Trustee Walsh? No?
Oh, no.
You look like you want to say something.
For having me back.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I was going to say that I know that we're in good hands. I watched Saturday Trustee Cletus take off on the Don't Fence Me In run and blew past me, and her endurance was pretty incredible. So glad that you're on board, and well done Saturday.
Rebecca, thank you. I'm really happy to be back to 8 trustees. Still thinking and sending positive thoughts to the Fitzpatrick family. We know we've missed her, but and it's just really nice to have a full board again. So, and thank you too for, like Trustee Nikki said, for stepping up in these trying times and putting in your public service. We really appreciate it. Okay. All right. No more comments. This meeting is adjourned. All right. Thank you.